This is a lesson on the topic on writing an equation in point-slope form, given a point on the line and the slope of the line. And so the directions will usually say, for each line below, write an equation in point-slope form. Now, remember, as we do these problems, we always read the directions. Direction says, write the equation in point-slope form. All right, so you have to remember that point slope form, this is point slope form. Y minus y1 equals the slope times x minus x1, where the point that we're referring to here, where this point, we're going to label x1, y1. Okay? And so whatever this point is, you're going to substitute into y1 and x1. All right? And you're given the slope as well. All right, so let's look at this example. So here's the first example. All right, here's the first one. So you're given that the line passes through this point. So this point's on this line, and it has this slope. So you want to find the find this equation in point slope form. Before we do that, and it's actually pretty easy to do these because you're just told to leave it in point slope form. You're not told at all to write this in slope intercept form, right? You're just told to leave it in point slope form. But before we do that, let me just remind you what you're trying to do. So if you looked at the graph of this, this is number one. And so if you look at the graph, so we're going to plot the point 8, negative 3. So 8, negative 3, oops, sorry. 8, negative 3 is right here, right? So there's the point 8, negative 3. All right. And I want to graph this line. So remember, we're going to use the slope, which is rise over run. So slope is rise over run, which in this case is 3/2. So I'm going to rise 3 and run 2, right? So, and both the rise and the run are both positive. So from this point right here that's given, I'm going to go up 3, 1, 2, 3, and then run 2, 1, 2. So I'm going to have to estimate this as best I can right here. So there's that other point. And so what I'm trying to do is, given these 2 points, if I look at this graph right here, I'm trying to find the equation of that line right here. All right. And so all they want you to do is to put this in point slope form. All right. But anyway, so that's what you're trying to do here, trying to find the equation of this line right here. Now remember, a line has an infinite number of points. You just use these two to help you graph that line. Okay. All right. So it's pretty easy. So we're going to go back to our formula right here, point slope formula. Y minus y1 equals the slope times x minus x1. All right, it helps to always write this out whenever you do these problems. And so remember, our point is 8, negative 3. So so 8 is going to be x1, and then negative 3 is going to be y1. All right, so there's your x1, there's your y1, and you're given the slope. And all you do is just substitute. So we have y minus y1, which you're told is negative 3, equals the slope, which is 3/2, times x minus x1, which is 8. Okay, now, just a couple of things. Do not leave your answer like this, and here's the reason. We expect you to know that if you see y subtract a negative 3, that you can rewrite this in a better way. So y subtract negative 3, remember, you can always change subtraction to addition. So y subtract negative 3 means y plus the opposite of negative 3, which is y plus 3. So whenever you have that, and I hate to say these words, but double negative like this, where you have a subtraction and a negative next to each other, always change that to an addition problem. So y plus 3 equals 3/2 times x minus 8. And that's the answer you want to write, okay? So always remember, you want to rewrite this to look like this, otherwise you will not get full credit. All right, so they're expecting this to look like this. All right. All right, so that's number one, and that's all they wanted. So basically what you found is this. So if you look at this line we just drew, so this line right here has this equation in point slope form. Y plus 3 equals 3/2 times x minus 8. Okay? All right, so that's number one. All right, let's get number two. So here's number two. All right, number two. So you're given that the line passes through this point, negative 6, 5, and then it has this slope. So the slope is negative 4. And you want to write your you want to write the equation of this line in point slope form. All right, so remember, point slope form, y minus y1 equals the slope times x minus x1. That's point slope form. And so you're given the point that's on that line. So the point that's on that line is negative 6, 5. So this right here is going to be your x1, and the 5 will be your y1. And you're given the slope of negative 4. So just go ahead and substitute. So I have y minus y1, which is 5, equals the slope, which is negative 4, times x minus x1. Now notice x1's negative, which is negative 6. All right. Now, just like the previous problem right here, y subtract negative 3, you need to write as y plus 3. So x subtract negative 6, you need to write this as x plus 6. So you have y minus 5 equals negative 4 times x plus 6. And that's the answer. So that's the equation of that line. All right. So if you were to, let's say you wanted to graph that line just to show you what you're dealing with. So let's go ahead and graph it real quick. I'm only going to do these two graphs right here, the one in number 1 and the one in number 2. But if you look at that graph, so this is a point on that line, so negative 6, 5. So to plot that point, I go to the left 6 and then up 5, right? Negative 6, 5, right here. Yep, right here. So this is negative 6, 5. Now remember, I know that the slope is negative, so my line better fall, correct? So I better do something like this. All right, now from this point, remember your slope is negative 4. So remember, slope is rise over run. Rise over run. In this case, I'm going to write negative 4 as negative 4 divided by 1. So my rise is negative 4, and my run's a positive 1. So from this point, remember, rise means go up and down. So in this case, I'm going to go down because it's negative. So I'm going to go down 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then to the right 1 because my run's a positive 1. And so the coordinates of that point right here is negative 5, comma 1. So negative 5, 1, and then if you draw the line, here's the line right here, and then what I just found is the equation of that line. So the equation of that line right here, the equation of that line is this. So the equation of this line is y minus 5 equals negative 4 times x plus 6. All right? Okay. So that was number 2. Very simple, right? Just point slope form. There's your answer right there. This is the answer. This is point slope form right here. Point slope form. All right. Okay, let's look at number 3. So here's number 3. All right, so in this problem, you're told that the line contains the point 8, negative 2. So 8, negative 2, and it has this slope. All right, so again, you want to write this in point slope form. So point slope form, y minus y1 equals the slope times x minus x1. And so to put something in point slope form, you need to know the slope and a point. I know the slope and I know a point. So remember, your point is 8, negative 2. So a is going to be x1, and then negative 2 is going to be y1. And then, you know, your slope negative 1. So I have y minus y1, which is negative 2, equals the slope, which is negative 1, times x minus x1, which is 8. Okay? Now, a couple of things. So we all know that we have to rewrite this right here. That we know we have to do. And then let's look at that negative 1. So there are a couple of ways you can write this. Now, you still want to put it in point slope form. All right, so we have y subtract a negative 2, which we all know means y plus 2, equal. And then it's negative 1. If you want to leave it as negative 1, that's fine. You could say this. And then that would be an answer, right? But some of you remember, and probably all of you remember this, or you can write this, now listen carefully, y plus 2 equal, and then I'm going to write this, and I want you to think about this. So remember, this and this are equivalent. So if you don't see a number right here, that's understood to be a 1, right? Okay, so saying negative 1 times x minus 8 means the same thing as saying the opposite of x minus 8, okay? All right, so just keep that in mind. So it didn't matter whether you wrote this or this. These are both in point slope form, okay? All right, so just something you need to remember. So negative 1 times x minus 8 means the same thing as the opposite of x minus 8. All right, so that's number 3. Let's look at number 4. All right, now here's number 4. So you're told that the line passes to this point, and this time it has slope of a positive 1. So the previous one was negative 1. This one is a positive 1. So let's look at that. So remember, point slope form. Y minus y1 equals a slope times x minus x1. All right, so you're given the point on that line. So the point of the line is 5, -7. So 5 is your x1, -7 is your y1. And then you're given the slope of 1. All right, so we're going to substitute everything we have. So y minus y1, which is -7, equals the slope, which is 1, times x minus x1, which is 5. All right, now, a couple of things, and this is important. So first of all, we know that we have to rewrite y subtracting -7 is y plus 7 equal. Now, in the previous problem where we had that -1, we knew we could leave it as -1 times this, or we could say the opposite of x minus 8, right? But this is a positive one right here. So you have to know this. You have to know that a positive 1 times x minus 5 is just x minus 5. So that is what we expect you to write. So we want you to recognize that 1 times x minus 5 means x minus 5. So this is the answer you want to write whenever you have a slope of 1. So y plus 7 equals x minus 5. Okay? All right, so that is the preferable answer. So point slope form. All right, so that's number 4. All right, let's look at number 5. All right, so a line passes through the point -8, -1, and it has the slope of -4/3. So if you want to write an equation in point slope form, which is y minus y1 equals the slope times x minus x1, you have to know two things. You have to know the point of the line and the slope, in which you do. Okay, so the point of the line is -8, -1. So -8 is your x1, and then -1 is your y1. And then there's your slope. So you just substitute now. So y minus y1, which is -8, equals a slope, which is -4/3, times x minus x1. Y minus y1. y1's -1, right? And so y minus y1, which is -1, equals a slope times x minus x1, which is -8. All right, now you have to remember y subtract -1, you need to rewrite this, and x subtract -8, you have to rewrite this, correct? All right, so we get y plus 1 equals -4/3 times x plus 8. And there's your answer. All right, very simple, not difficult at all, okay? All right, let's get number 6. Let's look at one more, number 6. All right, so here's number 6. So at this point, you should really know how to do this, right? If you give it a point of the line, a slope of the line, you know how to put it in point slope form. All right, but let's just do one more, and this will be the final one. So if you want to write this in point slope form, this equation, this line in point slope form, remember point slope form is y minus y1 equals a slope times x minus x1. And in order to write an equation in slope-intercept form, you have to know the slope and a point in that line, in which you do. There's a point in that line, and there's the slope. So remember, the point of the line is this, 9, 4. So x1 will be 9, and then y1 will be 4. And then there's your slope. All right, and so you just substitute. So we get y minus y1, which is 4, equals a slope, which is 7/3, times x minus x1, and here's x1, which is 9. And notice, you're done. You don't see y minus a negative anywhere, so you're good. And there's your answer. Okay, so that is point slope form. All right, and so that is the lesson on the topic of writing an equation in point slope form where the point on the line's given and the slope of the line's given. All right, so that's the end of this lesson.